McLaren just threw away the Formula One championship. In Qatar, one disastrous call handed Max Verstappen a lifeline and set up a three-way war for the title. This is winners and losers of the 2025 Qatar Grand Prix. My God, McLaren, what the H are you doing? You have a championship-winning car, you're the back-to-back Constructors' Champions, and you just delivered one of the most catastrophic strategic blunders in recent memory. You didn't just lose a race, you scored an own goal of epic proportions that may have cost you both world titles. Why? Let's set the scene. Oscar Piastri is on pole and controlling the race. Everything is going according to plan. Then, on lap 7, Nico Hülkenberg and Pierre Gasly have a clumsy collision. The safety car comes out. This is the pivotal moment. The entire race is about to be decided right here. Now, let's talk strategy, because this is where the genius and the idiocy of F1 are decided. A safety car on lap 7 is a gift from the racing gods. It's a get-out-of-jail-free card. It allows every single driver to dive into the pits for a cheap pit stop, losing maybe 10 seconds of race time instead of the usual 22. It is the most obvious, no-brainer, my dog could make this call decision in motorsport. So what do 9 of the 10 teams do? They take the gift. They pit their drivers, including Red Bull, who immediately call in Max Verstappen. But what does McLaren do? They leave both Oscar Piastri and the championship leader Lando Norris out on track. They were the only team on the entire grid not to do so. I'm not even kidding. I remember watching this, screaming at my TV. That single decision handed the race a massive strategic advantage and a championship lifeline directly to Max Verstappen. They never recovered. Piastri managed to fight back to P2, but you could hear the frustration in his voice on the radio. And what about Lando? He got stuck in traffic after his late stop and could only manage P4, missing out on a crucial podium. This was the weekend Lando could have secured his first world title. Instead, his lead has been slashed. Piastri has dropped behind Verstappen in the standings. A potential 1-2 in the championship has now turned into a nervy, stressful season finale where anything can happen. McLaren may be worried about being beaten by Verstappen, but they should be more concerned about being beaten by themselves. A pathetic, championship-level choke of historic proportions. Now let's move on from a team that choked to a team that just hurts to watch. Ferrari. This was another crushing, painful weekend in a season that's been full of them. So much so that after the race, Charles Leclerc just said he had no words. And honestly, can you blame him? The prancing horse has become well, not a prancing horse, I'll say that for sure. The car looked hopeless all weekend. Lewis Hamilton's emotional reaction after getting knocked out in Q1, his second Q1 exit in a row, shows you just how low he is right now. He's at the lowest ebb of his storied career, and all he could manage in the race was a miserable P12 finish, his fourth pointless race in the last 10 events. Pathetic, traumatic, sad. What other words can I use to describe this? Let me know in the comments. And what about pretty boy Charles? He did well to not crash the car and drag it into Q3, but his reward was a distant P8 finish, a staggering 56 seconds behind the winner. The result of all this pain is that Ferrari is now officially consigned to 4th place in the Constructors' Championship with 382 points. For a team with their history, their budget, and their drivers, that is a brutal, pathetic showing. This was the week that their team principal Fred Vasseur suggested they had switched their focus to the 2026 car all the way back in April. Well, for the sake of their drivers and their fans, let's hope that decision pays off, because this 2025 season is a complete write-off. While the big teams were busy self-destructing in the saddest ways possible, we have to talk about a driver who was on for a great day, only to have it ripped away by someone else's mistake. Pierre Gasly. Man, this one really hurts. The Alpine has been a dog all year, but Gasly has been a star performer in qualifying, and Qatar was no different. He dragged that car into Q3 for the 3rd race in a row, a massive achievement that put him right in the mix for points. He was running in the top 10, holding his own. A solid points finish was on the cards, which for Alpine this year is basically a victory. Then came lap 7. Nico Hülkenberg on the attack makes a clumsy move around the outside at turn 1. There's contact, and just like that, Pierre Gasly is spun out of the race. Just like that, through no fault of his own. His chance to fight for his first point since Brazil was gone in an instant. A brutal, heartbreaking end to a weekend that promised so much. You have to feel for the guy. And finally, to round out our losers circle, we have the hard luck crew, a trio of drivers who had promising weekends completely unravel. First, let's talk about Isaac Hadjar. The guy was driving a sensational race, running in 6th place, looking set for a massive points haul for Racing Bulls. Then, with just a few laps to go, he gets a puncture. He'd seen the front wing in play coming loose for 10 laps, he told the team, but they were confident it would hold. It didn't. The car was destroyed, and he was forced to retire. You could hear the pure, unfiltered rage in his voice on the radio. A great drive completely undone by a mechanical failure. Then, you have Nico Hülkenberg. And look, you have to feel for the guy on one hand. He was having a good stint, fighting for points, but he was the one who made the clumsy move on Gasly that ended both their races. He took a risk, and it didn't pay off, forcing him into his second DNF in 4 races. I'm not gonna lie, this whole thing is simply frustrating. And finally, Ollie Behrman. After a great start that saw him running the points early on, a botched pit stop by Haas, where he seemed to run over a wheel gun, not only lost him a ton of time, but also earned him a 10-second penalty. His chances of a 6th consecutive points finish were gone, and he ultimately retired the car. A tough pill to swallow for a driver who had been on a great run of form. So, my people, that was the loser's circle. A complete catalog of blunders, bad luck, and shattered dreams. And if you're enjoying this unhinged F1 autopsy, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe right now so you don't miss the next one. We have talked about the losers, now let's talk about the winners of this weirdly entertaining race. And we have to start with a drive that, honestly, shouldn't have been possible. If you had told me before this weekend that a Williams would be on the podium in high downforce Qatar, I would have told you to get your head checked. Nothing about this track should have suited their car. But Carlos Sainz is in the form of his life right now. The man has been on an absolute tear since the summer break, consistently outperforming the car. He had a strong sprint, scoring points, and then in the main race, he was simply superb. He qualified P7, a great result in itself, and then with a combination of strong driving, quick pit stops, and just pure relentless pace, he got ahead of both Mercedes drivers. He drove a clean, clinical race and brought that Williams home for a stunning P3 podium. Let's put this in perspective. This was Williams' 2nd podium of the season, a result that officially secured them P5 in the Constructors' Championship. A massive feat for a team that was down in P9 last year. It's a testament to the incredible turnaround at Grove, and on a weekend where his teammate was nowhere, Carlos proved once again why he's one of the most underrated drivers on the grid. A brilliant, giant-killing drive from the smooth operator. While Carlos was dragging a Williams on the podium, another Spanish legend was busy reminding everyone that age is just a number. I'm talking about Fernando Alonso. At 44 years old, the man is still delivering vintage performances. This was Alonso at his brilliant best. He started by securing Aston Martin's best grid slot of the year in the sprint, a stunning P4, and converted that into points with a P7 finish. Then, in the main Grand Prix, he delivered another accomplished, intelligent drive. And yeah, he had a little full 360-degree spin in the middle of it, a moment that would have sent most drivers into a panic. But what does Fernando do? He just catches the car, gets back on the power, and carries on like nothing happened. He is an absolute legend. He brought the car home in P7, scoring his first points on a Sunday in 4 events. And that double point score from the weekend was crucial. It single-handedly moved Aston Martin back up to P7 in the constructor standings, ahead of Haas. Just another weekend to Fernando Alonso, proving that passion and hunger trump whatever date is on your passport.
Let's keep the feel-good stories coming and talk about a driver who is fighting for his F1 life, Liam Lawson. This was a weekend that could have easily been a disaster. He got knocked out of qualifying in Q2, starting him in the midfield mess. But on Sunday, he put his head down and delivered a clean, intelligent drive. He battled his way up through the pack, and after Hadjar's heartbreaking puncture, he was the only Racing Bulls car left to salvage something from the weekend. And he did. He brought the car home in P9, scoring 2 crucial points. Now, P9 might not sound like much, but these were the first points for the team in Qatar, ever. And for Liam himself, it was his 3rd points finish in the last 6 races. At a time when the Red Bull family is deciding on its future driver lineup, every single point is a massive statement. On a weekend where his main rival for a seat, Yuki Tsunoda, had a tougher time, this was an invaluable result for Liam. Solid stuff. And finally, we have to talk about the man of the hour, the horror movie villain who refuses to die, the man McLaren should be having nightmares about, Max Verstappen. Let's be real. Max has been playing with house money for the last few months. At one point, all the way back in August after the Dutch Grand Prix, he was 104 points adrift of the championship lead. He had no business being in this fight. But he has kept his foot in the door, delivering one mesmerizing performance after another. And in Qatar, when McLaren gave him an inch, he took a mile. He saw them make that catastrophic strategy call, and he pounced. He drove a flawless, outstanding race to take his 7th win of the season and his 3rd in a row in Qatar. And what was the result? He has leapfrogged Piastri and now sits 2nd in the championship, just 12 points behind Lando Norris heading into the finale. For a driver who was over 100 points down just a few months ago, this is one of the most insane comebacks in modern F1. McLaren may have handed him a gift, but he drove a perfect race to unwrap it. The pantomime villain is well and truly back, and he has a genuine shot at his 5th world title. I don't know if this makes me happy or sad, but good for him. Now stay with me for a bit longer because I know you're wondering, mate, after all that chaos, where does this leave us? I'll tell you where it leaves us, all right. It leaves us with a legendary 3-way winner-take-all war for the 2025 Formula One World Championship at the final race in Abu Dhabi. And this is what we live for. Let's break down the state of play because it is incredibly tight. In first place, we have the championship leader, Norris Lando, on 408 points. In second, there's the resurgent horror movie villain, Max Verstappen, on 396 points, just 12 points behind Lando. And in third, we have the man who has looked untouchable for most of the season, Oscar Piastri, on 392 points, only 16 points behind his teammate. This is a nightmare scenario for McLaren and a dream scenario for every single F1 fan. It all comes down to this: one final race. So, what does each driver need to do? Well, it's complicated, but here's the simple version. If Max Verstappen wins the race in Abu Dhabi, Lando Norris must finish on the podium to secure his 1st world title. If he finishes 4th or lower, Max will be a 5-time world champion. Now, what about Oscar? His path is tougher, I'm not gonna lie. He needs to win the race and hope to all the gods on earth that both Lando and Max have a bad day. It's a long shot, but in a season this chaotic, you cannot rule him out. Not yet. It's going to be a nervy, stressful, and absolutely legendary finale, and I'm looking forward to it. So there you have it, a complete autopsy of the Qatar Grand Prix, a weekend where McLaren scored a major own goal, a pantomime villain came back from the dead, and the championship fight was blown wide open in the most interesting way possible. And it all comes down to one final race in Abu Dhabi. All right, if you watch this whole thing, you're a true F1 addict. So if you're not already, go on, hit that like button and subscribe to feed the addiction. Now, for the real question, and I want to see your answers in the comments, who do you think is going to win the championship in Abu Dhabi? Norris, Verstappen, or Piastri? Let me know what you think. And if you're ready to go even deeper down the F1 rabbit hole, the content gods have already chosen your next video. It's on the screen right now. Go on, click it. You don't want to anger them.